So you ever see a little caterpillar crawling around on the ground? Now some of us, I personally have never been a big bug guy, so people like myself find them to be just this ugly bug that grosses me out. But something interesting comes from these crawly little things. See, when they spin that amazing cocoon, they become these beautiful butterflies that many of us enjoy seeing. Something so plain, ordinary, and gross can transform into something so amazingly beautiful. Now this also happens to many of us as we transform our lives from what may have once been so plain, ordinary, or just plain disgusting into something that is beautiful and made for the Lord. See, we may or may not have been raised by parents with faith, but either way, when we become adults, we end up faced with these moments in life where we have to make choices. Now, some of us will turn to faith right away as adults, and that is a wonderful thing. However, for some of us, it takes a while, and we go through years of succumbing to the earthly pleasures, and we don't always make the best decisions in life. We tend to want to enjoy all that is around us, and we want to experience life, as the college kids that I work with say all the time. Now, although it is fun to experience life and all that it has to offer, it's not always the best way for us to live our lives. And we do have moments where we have to distinguish between those things that are good for us and that which is harmful. Therefore, we come to points in our lives where we need and want to make a change for the better. Now, we all have different reasons for wanting to make changes. I've heard stories of gentlemen who usually want to make a change for a woman that they are courting. Or you may want to make changes in your life because you have a job that you want advancement in. Or it could be simply because you've just been in trouble one too many times with the law and you're tired of sitting in jail. Or, for others, as I experienced, it was becoming a parent. Whatever the reason for wanting to make a change, most people have that moment in their lives where we desire a change to take place. Now, when most of us go through a moment and we decide to make a change and follow through with the decision, we begin to take the sometimes difficult steps to facilitate the changes that we want to make. Now, for myself, as I said, it was that moment of becoming a parent. And at that time, I decided I needed to return to the church, the foundation that I was raised in. That, in turn, resulted in a stronger faith and a better relationship with my earthly father, who was able to guide me through the beginning stages of my transformation. Now, it did not end there, as I was later introduced to that wonderful faith community that I introduced you all to, called the Ecumenical Emmaus Group. There, I met many delightful people who became trusted confidants in my life and my faith journey as I dove deeper and deeper into faith. And then it all culminated with enrolling in the seminary, where I have met many wonderful men and women who are devoted to God, to His mission, and to being faithful servants. Now, all this serves to take me from that plain, ordinary caterpillar into becoming that butterfly that the Lord has intended for me to become. Now, this is just a snapshot of my journey to transformation, and it can be very different for each and every person that chooses to have that transformative change in their lives into the beloved children of God that we are all intended to be. Now, I think it's important to remember that the journey of faith and transformation is not always easy, and it can take a lot of work to accomplish. As I've experienced just in the seminary alone, all the work that needs to be put into it, into studies, as well as getting firsthand experience here in a church, it can become overwhelming sometimes. And it feels like I'm walking up this really steep mountain to get to that peak. Now, in our Bible stories today, we're not told what the walk was like up those mountains that the people walked to get to. But I suspect that just to walk up those mountains alone was not easy. In the few times, I don't do a lot of walking, but in the few times that I have walked up hills, I've experienced that these paths are not always smooth. See, most of the times when I've walked up hills, it's usually in the woods and there's no sidewalk. So, your path may start out with some nice, beautiful grass, and it's very beautiful to think of what nature creates. But then, you have those moments where it gets muddy and messy and sticky to walk through, and takes a little bit more work. Or you might get to a point where it's rocky. And those rocks under your feet, sometimes you can really feel them through your shoes, and it starts to hurt. Or you might even twist an ankle. But the bottom line is, it becomes a lot of work to get up the hill to get to that point of transformation. Now, the transformative moment may not always happen instantly when you finally reach that peak. See, we hear this in the Exodus lesson today when we are told that the glory of the Lord came down on Mount Sinai and the cloud covered it for 6 days. Moses had to wait 6 days. Then he had to go into the cloud and wait 40 days and 40 nights just to get those first stone tablets. See, transformation does not happen overnight, and at times we have to wait for that change to happen in us and be patient. As I look at my own experience, my change started when Belle was born 15 years ago. And then it got really hardcore when she was about 5. So I've been on this journey for 10 to 15 years already. And then you make the choice to go to seminary, and that's a 4-year endeavor. So I got another 4 years to wait to finally become a full-fledged pastor. Now, it'd be nice if I could become a pastor like that. But there is an educational side to it that I needed to go through so that I can best minister to the people that I want to reach. So that transformation is not quick. We have to be patient. And we have to trust in the Lord as we make the changes that we're making. Now rest assured, the Lord, He will let us all know when He is pleased with us. As He spoke in our gospel lesson when He told them when we were told that, a voice came from the cloud and said, "This is my Son, whom I love, and I am very pleased with Him." Now, we may not be as lucky enough to hear it that clearly, but believe me, the Lord will let us know when He is pleased with the final product of our transformation. It usually comes in the peaceful and comforting moments for me in my life. And that is when I am reminded that the Lord is happy with the changes and the transformation that I am making in my life. When it comes to the gospel story today, the purpose of the transfiguration of Christ into at least a part of His heavenly glory was so that His inner circle, His selected few of His disciples could gain a greater understanding of who Jesus was. Christ underwent a dramatic change in appearance in order that the disciples could behold him in his glory. The Transfiguration was a special event in which God allowed certain apostles to have a privileged spiritual experience that was meant to strengthen their faith for the challenges they would later endure. In the same way, it was intended to confirm to Jesus himself that he really was being called to the cross. However, the Transfiguration was only a temporary event. See, it was not meant to be permanent. In that same way, at certain times in our lives, God may give certain members of the faithful special experiences of his grace that strengthen their faith. Now, we should welcome these experiences when they happen for the grace that they are, but we should not expect them to continue indefinitely, nor should we be afraid or resentful when these moments do come to an end. They may have been meant only as a momentary glimpse of the joy of heaven as to sustain us as we face the challenges of this life, to help strengthen us on the road that will ultimately bring us into the infinite and endless joy of heaven. We need to look at this transformative moment that we hear about today, and cherish the fact that we have this story to remind us of the glory that is the full kingdom of heaven, and what we will get to see when the final day comes. We will get to see our Lord bright as the sun, and we will be allowed to bask in that radiant light. Until that moment, we need to continue to work on our transformation in our lives so that we may become as Christ-like as is humanly possible. To let the love and beauty of God shine through each and every one of us in our actions as we go about our daily lives. To be kind to those around us. To open our hearts to the poor and the needy and to those who need to see that bright light of God. Be patient and cherish the time that it may take for this transformative work to happen in our lives. And enjoy that glimpse of the kingdom that each and every one of us are given a chance to see. Never give up on that walk up that mountain that will get us to that glory-filled moment that we all desire to be part of. And most importantly, be open to change, as it may be the change that is needed to make you a fuller part of that kingdom to come. Peace and blessings to you all today.